Hey, welcome into Husker247 Daily. I'm Mike Schaefer, joined by Michael Bruntz. Nebraska 3-0 coming off of the win against Houston Christian on Saturday. They obviously had beaten Akron and Cincinnati on their tour of Ohio the weeks prior. And now, Bruntz, non-conference season is over. It all matters now. Before, it was just like preseason stuff. This is when it truly matters. Nebraska starts things off conference play, of course, with Michigan on Saturday. But looking back, what's give me a takeaway you have when you think about Nebraska's offense. We'll start on offense. Just something you feel like you learned about the Huskers across these 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been most impressed by the offensive efficiency. I mean, you look at what Dylan Raiola's completion percentage is, like getting close to 80%. The guys further down in Latif and Gramstad, I think Latif's 11 of 12, like something like that. Um, that's not bad. I think in my mind there was at least a little bit of question of kind of like what's this offense going to look like in year two or first full year with Dana Holgerson, and they've been really good, really good. And he sets a high bar. They've got the 70% line for scoring on drives, which is really high. They hit that against Houston Christian. Um, but I think the efficiency of the offense has been most impressive. Does that hold up? I don't know. We'll see. But at least through the first 3 games, I mean, I think they've had a pretty clear idea of who they are and what they want to do, and they've gone out and executed that. How about you?
Yeah, adding to that, I think that we've learned Nebraska's got a pretty deep wide receiver room. They've got 3 guys across the top that you could argue any of them could be wide receiver one in a game, and they kind of all have been across the 3 games so far this year. Different one has led the team in receiving. You had Najee Hunter to start things off in week 1, Ja'Cory Barney in week 2, and Dan Key had his week in week 3. And I get Houston Christian and Akron aren't going to provide you the same kind of challenges, and yet at the same time, Brunts, I feel like it's got to be somewhat difficult to defend Nebraska's wide receiver room because you've got these bigger guys and Key and Hunter that can make plays on the outside, but you cannot forget about Barney over the middle. You still got Emmett Johnson in the passing game. You still have Luke Lindenmeyer, who had a very quiet day against Houston Christian relative to his day against Akron, in which he scored a touchdown, had a nice long catch, got engaged, all normal things that happen on a college football Saturday. A little bit quiet against Houston Christian, but I think that's a guy that's going to be involved certainly in conference play. So I think Nebraska's passing attack has proven through the non-conference that it's going to be something that defensive coordinators have to decide what they're comfortable giving up or who they're going to try to focus on amongst those 3 plus everybody else. And then, of course, as you said, with Dylan Raiola completing near 80% of his passes, he's not allowing a lot for defenders to even bat away at on top of it.
It's funny. I was telling somebody the other day, like most years, somebody like Cortez Mills is probably like very firmly in Nebraska's rotation
Right.
a lot more than he is this year. I mean, I think that speaks to the overall talent that they've had or that they have on this roster with the skill position players. And I think your point about how they've spread the ball around is also, you need to at least note that. I mean, they had, what was it, 14 guys in the win over Akron. It was closer to 10, I think, this past week. So, I mean, it's been really impressive what they've done. And like I said, I mean, I just want to see if they can carry this forward. But at least, in non-conference play, this is not how we've kind of seen Nebraska operate efficiency wise in quite a while. Like I think you have to consider the opponent, but also you have to consider the fact that Nebraska just has not gone in and blown out teams like this in recent history.
You got a sticking point for you with Nebraska's offense right now?
I'm eager to see what the running game looks like against Michigan. I mean, I think that's been the caveat through every game this preseason is like, okay, you did it against Akron, you did it against Houston Christian, you did it limited against Cincinnati. Like, let's see it against Michigan. I am eager to kind of see what the offensive line looks like in that kind of a setting. I'm eager to see if it's not Emmett Johnson carrying the ball 25 times against Michigan, who's it going to be and what does that look like? I think that's probably my sticking point. I think it was probably my sticking point coming into the season, and it's got a little less sticky, but still a little bit sticky. So I think that's probably the main one offensively for me.
Yeah, short area offense or red zone offense kind of called into
Yeah.
question a little bit. We've seen these last couple of weeks Nebraska's inability to convert uh, near the goal line is something that we'll keep an eye on as well. Let's jump over to the defensive side of the ball. What do you feel like you know about this group or what you have learned through these 3 games so far?
Yeah, it's kind of what we thought. Like we thought the secondary was going to be good. They've been very good, really good. Front seven looks good at times. Looks like some leaky yards occasionally. But I think they're starting to find guys that can maybe help a little bit. We'll see what Judy's situation is injury wise this week. He limped off against Houston Christian. Same with Gabe Moore as well. But I think they've been good. I mean, John Butler's dialed up the pressure a little bit more as we kind of expected. But the front seven and kind of generating a consistent pass rush on its own has been a little bit challenging. Teams have not just dropped back and thrown as much as you might expect. I think part of that's the respect for Nebraska's secondary, but I think defensively, you just want to see a little bit more from that front seven and kind of how they're coming along. I mean, I think I don't know that it's strayed too much from kind of what the preseason chatter was coming into the year.
Yeah, I think in a weird way, the defensive backs are even better than I anticipated that they would be.
Yeah.
Even though we knew a lot of these guys and have known a lot of these guys for a while, but the emergence of an Andrew Marshall, how quickly Donovan Jones has made himself indispensable. Even guys like Rex Kuthry when they're coming on the field, I mean, he looks like he belongs out there, and so I like what I've seen out of Nebraska's secondary more than I certainly was anticipating. I am a little worried about where the pass rush might come from in Big Ten play if Nebraska can win enough on the outside, or if they're going to have to commit to blitzing to be able to kind of dial things up on teams. And certainly with Bryce Underwood coming to Nebraska this weekend, I anticipate John Butler wants to have some different looks and really kind of get him thinking a lot when he's back there. And so I am very intrigued by what the secondary will do and how Nebraska's defensive line can play in conjunction with that. Has there been, I mentioned Andrew Marshall, has there been anyone that sort of stood out for you defensively where you're like, all right, that guy's become a bit of a player here, or I want to see more of what this looks like when we get to November after we get through the beginning of conference play?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jameer Khan, I think he's been he was kind of the forgotten man among the transfer portal additions in the offseason. He's shown to this point that there's not much drop off whenever he's in there for he was in there for Malcolm Hartzog against Houston Christian. He subbed in a little bit in the other 2 games. I think that's looked pretty good. I mean, I think that's the strength of the secondary is like you put Donovan Jones in there, there's not much drop off. You put Khan in there, not much drop off. You mentioned Guthrie as kind of the backup to Deshaun Singleton. He's looked good too. So yeah, I think that's been the strength of that secondary is, I mean, they have a legit 2 deep in there, no matter who they throw in.
Yep. And then special teams has gone well for Nebraska. I mean, that's the last sort of vestige here, and it's gone so well that the punter hasn't even seen the field outside of in the victory formation on
Yeah,
Saturday.
that's how
Matt
good it
Rule.
is. They're putting him in there for the victory formation.
Do you think Archie Wilson knew when he came over to Nebraska that he was going to be involved in such a prestigious moment? Standing back there, last line of defense in a 52-7, 59-7 game
Yeah.
against Houston Christian.
I mean, he's aware that he can punt in Memorial Stadium, right? Like he hasn't yet.
He's not aware. I mean, he's done it certainly in terms of practice, but he is not aware that he's allowed to do it in a game at this point in time. And I, for one, hope that he doesn't have to against Michigan, though. That would be quite the eye opener if Nebraska doesn't have to punt this weekend as well.
If that's the case, things have gone quite well. I think
that are just a horror
very,
show offensively.
Yes, very badly. Yeah,
the ultimate one end of the spectrum or the other, I suppose.
No middle ground there.
Yeah, let's finish with this just real quickly, Bruntz. How are you feeling just few days away from Nebraska playing Michigan and what we've kind of viewed as a litmus test for, hey, who is this team for 2025?
Yeah, I think this version of Nebraska is more equipped to stand in there and kind of trade punches with Michigan. I mean, it's been bad the last few years with the way that series has gone, but it there's it feels like the matchup is a little bit more even than what it's been. Certainly, Michigan coming in with a freshman quarterback, there's a lot of volatility there. Um, he looked great against I think it was Central Michigan last week. Um, running quarterback, we'll see, but I think this version of Nebraska at least has the best shot to go in there and be ready to mix things up a little bit. We'll see if the front seven holds up. I think that's going to be the conversation all week leading into that game is whether the defensive line and linebackers are up to the task.
Yeah, well, let Husker247 lead that conversation for you all week. Of course, we'll be back with more Husker247 daily content on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday. We're going to have our main podcast on Tuesday. We're going to have the Hypecast that'll drop on Thursday. We will have plenty of coverage for you here at Husker247. So check out what we've got going on at YouTube. Check out our main website. Plenty of coverage, plenty of recruiting stuff coming along this week as well. So Husker247 as things are about to get big for Nebraska.